Hey guys, I hope you're well. You are back on the Talk Quiz with me, Nat Rich. We are here today talking about the importance of brotherhood. It's a really important subject and I feel it's not spoken about enough. So I wanted to have a real in-depth conversation about what it means to be in a brotherhood, what a brotherhood is, and also the good, the bad. Oh, somebody might be listening to themselves behind. I don't know if somebody can help. Somebody else might be listening to the show while I'm talking, and then there you go. So this was the background noise I was talking about, Jo, earlier, when I said I can hear myself fly around someone's room. It's all good. So yeah, I wanted to talk about brotherhood in depth because I think it's a really important subject and it's not spoken about enough. There is so much information out there about sister circles and kind of men's circles, but beyond the men's circle, the brotherhood in itself, the kind of connection that people can obtain from such a group, I think is where the magic can truly happen as well. It's not just inside the circle. So I thought, who can I get on to talk about this with me? And luckily I lived in Ibiza some time ago and I met these three fabulous people who are all part of what is known on the island as the Ibiza Brotherhood. And they all said yes. Apart from Jo, but we had to drag him on, but he still said yes. So thank you, Jo, for being here. I really appreciate it. So I'm going to introduce you individually, and then if you can kind of say what you do and kind of give a little background before we go into the questions. So we'll start with Zoran in the corner. Thank you very much for joining me today, Zoran. Do you want to tell us who you are?
Well, who I am. I'm multidimensional being of love and light. I mean, I think that's the proper definition of me. In addition to being a cosmic wizard and multidimensional being of love and light, I run a global executive coaching company. And with the aim to develop and enlighten people and get them to become the best possible versions of themselves.
I love that. See, it doesn't need to go on for longer than that. You just nailed it. Very short and sweet. And that's enough. That's more than enough for one human being on the planet. So thank you very much. Chris, we'll go over to you. Let us know what you're up to.
Sure. So I have been a coach like Zoran for 10 years, a leadership coach. I've been a meditation teacher for 20 years. And I'm a founder of a meditation and innovation brand called Oppo, which I've just launched, our app, in and around the world. So I'm a busy entrepreneur at the moment.
Indeed. I can't wait to tell us more about that. We're going to have you on for another show to go in depth on that project and explain what that one is. And then we've got Jo, last but certainly not least, Jo. What are you up to at the moment?
Well, I've been building in Ibiza for about 20 years, project managing residential real estate development, and also do some projects of my own on the side. I've been building most of my life, and also carpentry I love, which most people don't know actually, but that's one of my main loves and hobbies. And I did a lot of that in the States when I lived there. So yeah, that's pretty much what I do.
I love it. So you guys are part of the Brotherhood. I don't know who I'm going to pose this question to. I think I'll put it to Zoran first. Zoran, can you tell me the Brotherhood, kind of what was the idea behind it? When did it start? How did it kind of naturally grow into what it is today? And how many kind of people are in the Brotherhood?
It has a very interesting background, actually, and it's all linked to the wonderful island that you lived on. And when I moved to the island 10, 12 years ago, very quickly after I moved in, I understood that this island had such a strong feminine presence and a really beautiful feminine energy. And it was overwhelming to me at the certain times to really see that in action. And I saw that women on the island were super connected, very open to each other, loving, caring, supportive, compassionate. And I also saw that a lot of guys were kind of disjointed, disconnected, a little bit lost in this powerful feminine energy, not really gelling in and supporting. And so very quickly after that, in 2013, actually, we started the Ibiza Brotherhood. And the whole idea and the ethos behind this was to bring Ibiza men together to create a loving, supportive, empowering community. Few things that we've done really well together was to have fun together, because Ibiza is one of these places when you celebrate life and you have fun, and you really want to be in that fun energy. And I jokingly say our job is to maintain this frequency of fun, lightness, partying, joy that is super important, especially nowadays. But at the same time, it was all about really getting to come closer together as a man, to support one another, to allow each other to be vulnerable, to allow each other to be present with one another, and to serve each other like a proper brothers in our lives. And then the Brotherhood basically evolved by itself naturally. One of the ideas behind this was also to have as many different nationalities, because we're very blessed living here that we have people from all over the world. And the idea was to diversify and to get people from UK, from US, from Serbia, from Ireland, from Israel, from Germany, from New Zealand, from Australia, from South Africa, and to really have this mix, that rich diversity of our backgrounds, to come together in this love and support and a stronger community, basically to elevate ourselves to the next level. And also one of the things was to manage that feminine energy, which is palpitating on the island in the most wonderful way, so that we're not lost as men in this power of feminine, but we really embrace it, we love it, we integrate it, and we show up with our full open heart towards that feminine energy. That was kind of the beginning of it. Yeah.
Nice.
I love it. There's so many. I can hear myself.
Someone.
Is that someone's on the back?
Someone got a speaker in their house?
I think so. Maybe.
I
I'll sit a
don't.
little bit further back. There we go. So at the moment, the idea that, having a men's circle or having a group of guys coming together and talking about things that truly matter to them, talking about their emotions, talking about their feelings, it's seemingly to a lot of people like it's new, but it's actually not. It's a really ancient practice of brotherhood, of men coming together, very spiritually entwined, very grounded, teaching young men how to grow up to be better, stronger, more empowered versions of themselves. So, a lot of the ones in the past have had initiations and initiation ceremonies, and kind of they're a little bit like what I think some people think of when they think of initiations. They kind of think of like frat school, in America. They think of like, the guys going to school and they have to be part of the Brotherhood. They have to do some kind of weird, sick challenge, and everything from that moment will, they'll be part of the group. But it's not that with you guys. It's more about, who's embodying integrity, who kind of wants to grow, who kind of wants to, be empowered. And you kind of, I believe the way that you adopt people in your group is you look for a kind of a quality of openness and vulnerability. Would that be right from the outside? I'll leave that one with you, Chris. Is that the kind of thing that you look for? Or is it not that you're not even looking, that you're just naturally letting it flow?
Well, I would definitely say there's a kind of a natural boundary, I suppose, around us. And I think we've done that by kind of really setting out. I think when Zoran and I first talked about this, actually, at the very beginning of the Brotherhood, I think one of the things we did was to reach out to people we felt had a sort of mix of that sort of masculine, feminine mix, that sort of light depth mix. We didn't sort of have any sort of characterization of anyone particularly, but it was an intuitive thing. I don't think we had a prescriptive way of how this is actually going to work. I know a lot of kind of frats and different groups are very exclusive. I think our group is, I wouldn't say I think it has its own natural exclusion maybe, but I don't think we intended it to feel like that. And certainly within us, there's a lot of flow and there's a lot of openness and there's a lot of kind of ways in and out. It's a very open experience, a bit like Ibiza, actually. It is very representative of the island, I feel. And I think what Zoran said about, making sure that we were having fun as part of this. I've been in men's groups before, and I have enjoyed many of them. Many of them I didn't vibe with, but because I kind of felt they were very worthy and very sort of getting into that sort of seriousness about men, which is important because it's important work. But for us, I feel like it was really good to have a broad stream, and that's what I got. So I suppose to answer your question, for us, there's no initiation per se, right, guys? I guess not. Apart from the really secret one, I can't tell you.
Yeah.
But I think one thing that was really sure was that it felt very international. I think that was really important, and there was a sense of openness and sharing in it as well.
Mm-hmm.
J.O. does secret initiation. Sorry for that, Chris. You know, it's a J.O. specialty because he always keep on being cheeky, and he's saying, now you really have to prove yourself. Right, J.O.?
There's this secret inner circle, like really, yeah.
Yeah, that one. Yeah, I heard about that one.
I think this is a family-friendly one, so I think we'll leave out that kind of I don't think we can go there.
Yeah.
But so in terms of the quality in the group, and this question I'm going to lead it with you, Jo. Like Zoran said about, you know, and having the fun, the quality is there. I remember speaking to you, and I don't know if you can remember the conversation. We were up at Vaughan's one time, and I'd inquired to you about the Brotherhood, and I think I was just intrigued by what you do beyond the circle. Can you describe the kind of typical event that somebody would explore with a Brotherhood, that kind of things that you do, how you come together, what that actually looks like when somebody's in a Brotherhood?
Well, we do a lot of gatherings, like walks. We'll go into nature, and we'll go for long walks and just meander around and break into groups and chat, and then come back to the house and have a soup and sit around the fire and just pretty informal. We've done that several times. We also gathered for big dinners and kind of have more of a party vibe. And then we've done things like that are more maybe therapeutic, like we had the Guru Night, which I thought was brilliant. I think that was Vaughan's idea. We sat around and we had this mask, and everyone had to sit in front of the group and put the mask, and they were then the Guru, and the brothers could ask the Guru any question, and just bouncing. And it was really interesting how the things that come up and the ideas and you kind of see where everyone's at and what they're going through. So I think that was actually, we should do that one again. That was a really good one. Yeah, so things like that. It's always kind of different. It's been more difficult lately with the situation with COVID, but we had it. The last thing was at WOW. We had a big dinner and a few mezcals and just that was a really happy night, I remember, because we hadn't been together in a long time. And so, yeah, I mean, it's always different.
Maybe just to add something in as well.
Others to come up with ideas as well. Zoran's always asking us to, you know, someone take control and create a night or organize something. And so.
Yeah. And you wanted to answer, Chris, as well.
Well, just to add in also that we did a weekend in Barcelona together, which was really probably for me certainly was one of the highlights actually of our time together as a Brotherhood. It really, because we had a lot of in-depth time, we had maybe 2-3 days together, where we created almost like a, how would you describe it? Well, it was a retreat in the city. And,
sounds like a healthy stag do.
It was no, but it was more like there were people there choosing to present, who chose to present and talk about their worlds, kind of like little mini TED Talks almost, with kind of just open sessions, lots of really good exploration of food and sharing, and we really went into really wonderful spaces together and really spent good time. And was what I found really interesting, which was a real mark of our eclectic nature, was that there was, how many were there, Zoran? Maybe 25 of us, maybe?
25, yeah.
Let's say. Walking together around Barcelona, and you know, in cities, most men or most people kind of have their look, and they're kind of very tribal in cities. You know, everyone is friends, kind of has their same vibe. Our group are so eclectic. So, you know, you'd have someone who might look a bit like the accountant versus like the shaman on the other side, and everything in between. And you could see people really checking us out in the city. Then I realized how wonderful it was. We were a really, really eclectic group of men. It's actually really what I love about our Brotherhood. We're very, very eclectic.
So how old's the youngest member right now of the Brotherhood that you have?
Christian, maybe? No.
35, 34, 35, no, guys? Maybe?
Probably early 30s, yeah.
And all the way up to your age, Zoran, what, 70?
Yeah.
Yeah.
About 70?
Yeah.
So for somebody that's slightly younger than that may be at home, that doesn't necessarily have, I want to say a solid group of friends, you may have friends that are consistent around you and that may have been with you for a long time. But what we're talking about is the quality and the depth of a conversation that you can go to with those individual friends, and the kind of level of that conversation and how that conversation makes you feel and how that conversation can help you progress in your life. This is the kind of the quality of the conversations that we're looking at with forming a brotherhood. It isn't, there's a very big difference, I guess, with a brotherhood and like a stag do, like I just joked about before. There's lads coming together and there's men coming together. And there's a big difference between that. And it's not just an age difference, it's also an integrity difference. And it's something that I think is in the world at the moment that we have, is lots of people are now waking up and they're coming into the idea of having, men sharing circle and being more open with their feelings. But, they tend to do that as a little bit later on in life. But Zoran, I think I'll ask you this question in terms of how important this is for a young man and for a young boy in order to be able to become this version of himself. How important do you think it is for somebody at a young age to be involved in something like this, or at least understand what this is?
I cannot even say how much it is so important. I think that some cultures are blessed with this kind of tribal connection in their own cultures that we actually lost through our evolution and digitalization and us living in the cities. And in the ancient times, in each and every culture, we had, as you mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, we had this initiation, we had this rite of passages, we had when the boy becomes the man and he really understands what manhood is, he really understands what brotherhood is, he really understands what are his core strengths, his weaknesses, where does he need to develop, how does he need to grow. So I think that was an essential part of building blocks of a powerful and strong man going forward in the full integrity. So I feel for the younger, guys, this is essential. And I know a lot of the, brotherhoods around the world, actually, that have people even from 16, 15, 17, 18 to 20s, when they really get to understand who they are, and through the mentorship and support of the older brothers, they get to grow. I know from my personal experience, for the kind of older member of our brotherhood, they were fantastic mentors to me. I've learned so much in our conversations. When I felt insecure about my life or confused or didn't know in what direction to go, I would reach out to one of these brothers and I would ask them the question, okay, what do I do now? I mean, I'm in this crossroad right now in my life. I don't know what to do. Help me. And then it will be conversation, mentoring, as J.O. mentioned, walks, or us sitting together in the circle and supporting one another in an open forum. I think it's priceless. For me, that gives me so much, and I know that gives other people so much. And for the younger guys, yes, I mean, just get into one, join in, create one if you don't know how to join in one. Invite your friends and begin, being part of it.
Yeah. There's a lot of conversations happening around, suicide at the moment with men, especially. I had a show the other day with one of my dear friends, and it was solely to do with suicide. I had one of my friends on discussing his approach to almost taking his life, which was a kind of revealing conversation that I held space for. And it was very much understanding the loneliness aspect of his life and of kind of where that was. And he didn't feel like he fitted anywhere. And then we followed it up with a conversation with somebody who's a mental health practitioner and trainer. And he enlightened me with some of the information around suicide and about the importance of men's work. And it can be life-saving on every level, just from having a conversation and being able to be vulnerable enough to go into that space. So there's a lot of people at the minute are trying to find the words, and they don't necessarily feel like they have the language for how they currently feel because it's such a tricky time. But when there's a group of men together, and the same with women, I can only imagine that there's several ideas, there's several voices, and there's several ways that something can progress, which helps people, find the language and find the way that they need to communicate. So obviously you guys having such a diverse group, I've met quite a lot. I don't think I've met all of them, but I've met quite a lot of the Brotherhood, and you really do have, top execs to, wild cards to people just been on the island that never really leave, that are there. And, that, do you ever find that because there's so many, it's not like what I'm trying to think about it is if men come together in a team, usually there's quite a lot of ego there. There's kind of like, yay, but you guys come together in a bit more of a vulnerable space. Do you ever find that there's that many different personalities that causes a friction or a resistance within the group? I will go, Chris, if you want to answer that one.
Sure. Well, I'll pick up a little bit on what you said on both things there about sort of friction, but also about suicide and how what men can do from a practical point of view. Because I think obviously a lot of guys meet together and just kind of hang out, you know, and maybe get a beer, watch the sport, and you know, they may just do that. And at least what I would say their being together is really important. Their beingness, you know, just to be. But I think if you want to set up a men's group, and if anyone is out there and wants to do that, I think it's so important you have an intention to set up a group. And it's the intention that really matters, because that intention will give the way the group will behave. And I think, you know, Zoran, certainly, and I, we had those conversations. Zoran's really been holding that intention very much for all of us, actually. And that piece to me is so critical. It's not just about saying, hey, guys, let's get together and talk. Someone's going to really have to want to say, hey, you know what, we're going to have to take off a bit of our mask. Maybe we're going to have to put the lads' banter away and actually really see how we feel. And it can be so powerful. And there's a lot of men's groups out there that are worth checking out to model on, who are very public or online, or there's loads of ways that people can do that. So I just wanted to cover that. And, you know, for men who do feel alone, and I certainly know in times in my life where I felt alone, those kind of places would have been really, really potent. So that's, I suppose, is that kind of thing. In terms of how it works in our group, I mean, I specifically remember when COVID broke out. Remember, we went to Assie's place, so we sat out in his garden, and we started to kind of go more into what was happening with COVID and what could we do, and we were all feeling, you know, a sort of sense of helplessness in a way. And also we were holding a platform for diverse opinion and diverse views, and our group definitely holds diverse opinion and view. I think that is also important when it comes to serious topics. And we hold it with respect mostly and retain integrity, but we do hold mostly it. And with, you know, and in a way that's kind of like it's a good resource for us to say, you know what, we feel safe here and we can open and explore whatever is touching us in terms of things like vulnerability. I certainly feel that is a huge topic for men, generally men and vulnerability. Those two things are so deeply entwined in terms of unlocking some of our greatest potential of all. So any way we can explore that in a group, I think, is always a good thing, and we do. So we're an eclectic group, but I think we allow that eclecticism and eclectic opinion to thrive in some way. And I think probably going forward, we know that that will be a big thing for us. Yeah.
So the other angle I wanted to come from, Emily, which is the Brotherhood hairdresser, I believe, my friend Emily, that you guys also know. I told her before I was coming on. I was like, I've got the Brotherhood guy. She's like, oh, I'm the hairdresser. So I'm giving her a shout out as well, Emily. Thank you.
Hi, Emily.
I love Emily.
We love Emily.
She's such a sweetheart. So I wanted to kind of look at it from a female angle, and I'm going to go with Jo on this one. Obviously, you having the lovely partner that is Lorena, and obviously I appreciate, Zoran, you have a partner as well. So I'll get your view in after this one. So it's such a solid group, from being outside looking in on you guys and what you achieve and kind of how you really connect as a group. It's something to see and to go, do you know, I admire that. And I've said to myself, and I think I've said to you guys before, I'd love to find a guy that is part of a brotherhood, because I feel like he's safe, he's going to be held, he's going to be able to be his full self, he's going to be able to explore his anger, his vulnerableness, his laughs and his jokes. And that rubs off into a relationship massively. So how has the Brotherhood for you, Jo, helped you in terms of a relationship and taking that, what you're learning, and that's having that space, taking it home into your relationship, and how does that fit for you? How does it benefit you outside of the Brotherhood?
Oh, my brain is frozen because now I'm thinking my wife's gonna watch this.
Hi, Lorena.
Think quick. No, I would say that the connection that I have with these guys has been really important in my life. Before I got into the Brotherhood, I mean, I've been living here 20 years. And I've had all kinds of crazy friends and been in different tribes and cliques, and from the disco, teching, clubbing, to everything. And I think that when I found these guys, I actually started to really find my space in Ibiza. Funny enough, you know, I started to really connect with some extraordinary men, and create some real deep friendships, which was a wonderful thing to have happen so late in life. You know, I'm 52 years old, and you don't normally. By then, you've got your old good friends, and you kind of, you know, I see a lot of older people. They see less and less people, and they don't make a lot of new friends. And for me, it was the opposite. You know, as soon as I got into the Brotherhood, I started to really make some really close new friends, you know, at this stage in life. And that's been really, I think, really a powerful influence on my life in many ways that I probably can't even see. As far as Lorena and how it's, I mean, I'm really lucky to have an amazing relationship with my wife. She's incredible because she's also a friend and my lover. And so it ticks all the boxes. I don't know. I suppose that, yeah, just everything I was gaining through the close relationship with these brothers must rub off in some way, make me a better person, polish my character in some way. And I know Lorena is proud that I'm in the Brotherhood. She loves all the guys in the Brotherhood. She thinks it's amazing. And anytime there's an event, she's super happy I'm going. And you know, so it's great. It's a really positive force in our relationship and in my life. Yeah. So.
Beautiful. Yeah. And if she is listening, and I'm sure she will at some point, see, there was nothing wrong with that at all. You did it perfectly. Said everything you need. No swearing or anything. It's great. So Zoran, you have a very empowering relationship, which I've been witness to on the island, and it's beautiful. And I want to mention a time when I really saw something that I thought was unbelievable. It was obviously around the time of the Susie Pearl event, and you and your partner literally zipped the island together, put everyone together. We were all there for Susie. It was very quickly done, very beautifully held, and it really made me go, oh, I want that. You know, I want that as I find that. And it was so unbelievable to see and to be a part of and to experience that. And it was a quality, like externally looking at that, it was something where I was just really grateful to have seen that to be done. But you guys have got kids as well, so can you give give kind of a perspective of how this Brotherhood has helped you shape your relationship in some ways, and then also how you've used it to be able to help you be a father as well?
I think when it comes to being a father, I start with that first. It's amazing to share with my family what are the experiences that we encounter in Brotherhood, and also Ibiza kids grow up in interacting with grown-ups. So whenever you have a gathering or a party which is outside Brotherhood, kids do talk with grown-ups and they share information, and grown-ups treat kids like sovereign spiritual human beings, not like little babies, like go gaga. They ask them questions. So one of the things that I can see that really impacted my relationship with my family, specifically kids, is that they were really happy to be able to interact with people that I held as my brothers, so to say. Also, because we all moved from our nucleus families from all over the world, this by default becomes your family. You don't have your nephew and niece and uncle and aunt, and everybody else is your brothers and sisters, and they're your extended family. So for them, it was also empowering to see that family, to see that community around them. And you mentioned with Susie Pearl, going through her health crisis, how everything came together in a split of the second. And also Liliana, my partner, and I we just felt at that moment in time that was something that we needed to do as part of the community. It was ours to do, to support our sister and make sure that she's healthy and happy going forward. And to ask, to answer the last questions when it comes to how my wife responds to this, she's very funny. Like Lorena, she would always ask me, how was it? What did you do? Even sometimes when I get lazy and I'm saying, okay, I have Brotherhood meeting, I'm not really in the mood right now. She always tells me, oh my God, just go, because every time you come back, you're lit up, you're fully, empowered. Yeah. You have this amazing energy. You have stories to share. So she's always highly supportive and cheeky in a way that she wants me to become a best possible version of themselves. And then there is also part of her that is inspiring me to do what I need to do to be that man that can be the best man for her. So, and I think that when you are surrounded with the powerful male energy in a deep connection to the friends that you love and brothers that you admire, it just helps you become better men. It's full stop. There is nothing more, nothing less. It's just, this is what it is.
It's beautiful. Yeah, she's going to be very happy with your answer as well, I'm sure.
I'm sure. She's probably laughing.
So I wanted to touch on the quality of space holding. And holding space is a term that can either make you roll your eyes, get frustrated, or be like, oh, what does that actually mean? And what I want to reference is in my personal experience over the COVID period, I've spoken to a number of people who have been part of men's circles or women's circles. And the person who is holding that circle is usually the same person most of the time. It doesn't always change. I think it changes in yours and you kind of move that around. But in a number, and I think this is maybe one of the reasons as to why there's an awful lot of pressure that is on one person to be able to hold such a space. And obviously through COVID, that has become increasingly even more so because of, people with their own stuff on their own plate, and everyone's trying to hunker down and make sense of the world and their lives. And it's space holding and holding space for people. For those that don't really understand what that is, I would love, Chris, I think you'd probably be the right person to ask this question to at the moment, because obviously you do workshops and meditations, but can you explain to us what holding space actually means and how important the quality is of that, and also to be able to share that responsibility as opposed to be able to sit there with the entire groups on your shoulder?
Yeah, I mean, so for me, space holding really is a choice to serve a community of people. That's really what it is. I mean, obviously, there's a sort of a practical and then a more intentional role to it. So, as a space holder, and like Zoran, and I'm sure Jay has held many spaces too, but we've been holding spaces professionally for so long, I suppose, that you have this the sort of the energetic holding of a space, and then you have a very practical role, and they do merge and blend. And some days, of course, some merge better than others, but that to me is probably like how a space is held and what you need to do. So of course there are just very practical steps to set something up, and they require motivation, they require intention, they require clarity, good communication, all of those things, and they have to be constant and ongoing. And then the second place, of course, is the energetic holding of a space, so that you are kind of a foundation stone to other things for other things to happen. It's not necessarily that you're directing the space, it's that you're holding it to give permission for other things to flourish. And that to me is certainly what guides me in the way that spaces are held. In terms of these times and COVID, I mean, I can only talk for myself that I got online pretty quickly. I got on Zoom pretty quickly with my sessions and classes, and we're still flourishing, and we're still going, and we're still driven by that. And I do think that it does have I actually really enjoy it. I enjoy being online, and I think other people have struggled because it's really tough. It's a real jump. I mean, I had no intention to teach online before COVID at all, and then suddenly we're all working with technology, and we all have Zoom fatigue and things like this. So people are really drifting in their levels of intention. As you say, they're managing their own lives. In truth, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a good answer. Thank you. I wanted to touch as well on ego, and kind of essentially, I think a lot of people are waking up at the moment who necessarily haven't kind of become aware of themselves before now. I think COVID has given us all the opportunity to reflect on our lives, to see where we're at, to see where we want to go, to see who we are in a relationship to what's going on. And I think everyone's questioned their finances, their foundations, their families, their friends, their relationships in every area, and it's made us realize that there are some things, if we have been sweeping them, I always say this on the show, it's like the great rug that everyone's been sweeping stuff under for the last however many years has just like done the Aladdin rug and just gone up and flown away and got on its own life, and everybody's now having to look at what they've been hiding. And that can bring up all types of insecurities and all types of kind of avoidances. And me, I do personal responsibility coaching. So I teach people to take personal responsibility, and it's largely to do with their admin. And what I mean by their admin is that a lot of people will think that they have severe anxiety, and I'm like, you've probably got a really severe to-do list as opposed to actual anxiety.
Very good.
Get through your emails and your WhatsApps and we clear all of that stuff. Let's see when we've done the admin, when you've done the finances and stuff, let's see if you still feel the same. And it's often quite different. So I position myself in a different space entirely. But what can come up before our truth comes up is I'll say it, a shit ton of ego stuff. So rather than us owning, oh my God, I probably should have done that before now, or I probably should have faced that, or yes, that's probably my responsibility, we often project outwards and we often put our blame onto other people. Zoran, I'm going to go to you with this one because I just think it's because you've obviously worked quite a lot in a business sense as well with quite a lot of men who have the ego sense. A lot of anger and blame can show up through this time. How do you feel that from a male perspective, how do you feel about the current situation and what men can really be doing in this time as an opportunity to reflect, and how can they be looking at something like their ego and like their anger and kind of managing that a little bit better?
It's a fantastic question. And we're all challenged. And you're absolutely right. We are in the state of big awakening. And I love your metaphor. The rug has been pulled under us, and now we have to wake up and become who we need to become. And, we're cracking, all of us. We have insecurities, we have issues, challenges, difficulties, if not for ourselves, then for our families. So it is this big time of awakening. And I think when we are awakening, the ego, it's in the space of transition and transformation. We're becoming more of ourselves. So when I just want to connect it to the space holding, when you have a powerful group of men coming together and you hold the space with the pure intention that this is going to be a space when people can show up authentically, they can transcend their ego attachments and show up to be 100% their essence, which is the purest part of who you are and what you are, and share authentically based on your essence, then ego dissolves and disappears. And I was witnessing this in our conversations. Sometimes we would start with this strong masculine ego, and especially if you have opposing view that Chris was talking about before, that everything is welcome, and we can kind of horn into each other. I believe this and you believe that, and our egos can come, into conversation. But as we are holding that space of intentionality for ego to transcend, people end up loosening up, letting go of the fear, frustration, and anger, and really leveling in understanding that, they're being heard, they're being listened to, they're being understood, and they can move on and become a different version of themselves. So that's on the ego. And I just want to say, when it comes to anger as well, I think the man specifically right now with the feminine energy rising, and this might be a tale of, of our century, that the age of feminine is coming back, the age of Aquarius, the masculine is dissolving and the feminine is stepping into the full leadership. I personally feel this in my body and in my life. I see it, clearly. And I think as men, we're called to be humble, be grateful, be honorable, be compassionate, be heart-centered, show up as a true knights and warriors, but with a deeper sensibility and sensitivity, instead of being disconnected from our emotions, being disconnected from who we are, and just running the show with our head, thinking, and not really embodying our full presence. So I think if you go from that angle and you hold the space of intentionality, the ego really dissolves, in my opinion. I don't know, J.O. and Chris, what do you think about it? Because it's a great question, isn't it?
Yeah, for me, one thing, brothers and all those opinions.
Oh, I think it might be a little bit of background noise. Oh,
There's a delay there. Yeah.
Is it me?
Go for it.
You're good.
Okay. Being exposed to all the, as Zoran is saying, different ideas, opinions on so many topics has been really good for me, because it's made me question my own opinions and beliefs on many things, and with time kind of wore down my grasping to any, in a way. I mean, I have them, but it's like, how important are they? The world is so complex and there's so much going on. And at the end of the day, what becomes more important is being with them, connecting, loving, doing things together, you know, the opinions and beliefs kind of start to take a backseat for me, you know. So I don't care so much that one believes this or someone believes that, or even different political views. It's just not that important at the end of the day, you know, for me. That's something that I would. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I would just add in, you know, I think just as Zoran was saying, you know, this sort of rise of the feminine in men is not about us becoming like women at all. It's about us coming into our center. And I think, you know, our center being sort of aligned mind, heart, body, soul, whatever way you want to call it, whatever your belief around that is. But actually that, you know, we speak from our heart, and the heart space, of course, as we know, is the master of all. And when we talk from there, we can be vulnerable, we can be angry, we can be sad, we can be joyous. All of those things are possible by choice rather than we're affected by our external environments. And so for me, for men to rise up in that space, to be angry or also to be sad and joyful and all of those things is the masterful man, much as it's the masterful woman, by the way. But for us, I think we need feminine energy to unlock the heart and for it to really open and to omit our full essence, just like women need other things for them to unlock in their essence. And I really believe that. And I believe we have so many elements of that in our brotherhood. And that's one of the reasons why I love it. For me, there's so many elements there that are rising in us. And so I really share that as a man.
I think that these are all beautiful answers, and they really, you know, every time you open your mouth, you're proving that. I'm like, yes, I'm so glad I got you guys on together. It's just flowing so well. I wanted to tap into something that I find at the moment really interesting, and it's everybody's challenging themselves at the moment. Everybody is, you know, or being challenged, should I say. And there are so many differences of opinion. And I, for one, am really surprised about the breaks in the families and the relationships. Maybe they were always meant to break down. Maybe they weren't meant to survive this period. I don't know. But what I'm seeing is some of the most intelligent people I know, and intellectually intelligent people I know that are, you know, bookworms beyond belief, that are doing incredible work, have turned into a raging version of themselves, but with real arrogance and real rudeness through this time, if anybody holds a different opinion as to what's happening on the planet. So whether it be a vaccine, or whether it be a conspiracy theory, or whether it be a political person, it's, for me, that I look at it, and I've said this so many times when people have asked me whether I hate Trump, and I'm like, no. And they say, well, why not? And I'm like, but I've never met a man. So I don't want to hate a man I've never met, basically, is my understanding. That's, if I had to say, what would love do? Love wouldn't hate someone they've never met. And I want to keep going to that space. But I've seen how many times that makes someone angry because I'm not agreeing with them. Now, I don't think there's anything wrong with anger. And I think I'll probably point this question to you, Chris, because I've vaguely had a conversation about anger with you before and the importance of it. But I find it incredible and upsetting at the same time, of the real need for other people to be in agreement with us. And if they're not, we're willing to cut off our family. We're willing to change our relationships. We're shut in a time like COVID, where we're already being like 6 foot apart and restricted. And this upsets me, because I don't know anyone that's met Trump before, but I know everyone that's got an opinion on him, and I know it's causing some of the most biggest rifts on the planet, and everyone's full to this anger. Can you explain the power of anger and the importance of it, but also the direction of which that anger needs to flow, and how to process something like that?
Yeah, sure. So for me, I mean, to me, there's two things to pick up on that. I think is, you know, anger is an embodied experience. It's within us. It's a natural element of our life. It is completely and utterly natural for us to be and feel angry. The issue, I think, that is really going on is that, you know, we know now in the world, we are in the age of information, and in this time, there is so much information available to us, which I believe personally, of course, is fueling what I would call right-minded thinking. So it's kind of like, if I have this information and I know something, therefore I'm right about that. And of course, when right-minded thinking starts coming into the world, and we have the idea that we own the truth personally, then of course it's going to assume there's a lot of wrongness out there, that we are armed with some kind of information that we can say, well, it's because. And of course, that's kind of mixed with a sense of kind of rising tide of anger about the world, because there's a lot of injustice in the world. No matter what we think, of course, over this age of information, we know that there's more injustice going on, more than ever. Since when I was a kid in the 70s, I knew nothing really about what was going on in the world. So what I would say is that, we see a world that is in disorder, only not because it's getting worse, but because we're lifting the veil to see what's really happening. And I think that's the fundamental difference. And what we're seeing is, of course, enraging us, whether it's the planet, whether it's politics, whether it's our neighbor down the road. And I think that sort of sense of anger rising is definitely going on. So the one thing I would just quickly add to that is that, unfortunately for us in our life, I feel, and maybe we would all agree in this, we were always told never to be angry. So of course, we don't have the tool to allow anger to move through us in a pure, loving, holy way. It is always attached with fear, with shunning, shaming, blaming, and therefore anger cannot be purely expressed. And so what happens, of course, is then we get this sort of toxic release of anger, which is really attached from our idea that it's not right. And that's what I think is going on. We're armed with truths, and then we have sort of, in general, we just haven't been allowed to be angry. We've lacked emotional intelligence around that. And so we are sort of in this very fumbling way of using anger. So what's happening is it's going from the heart up to the head, and it's being used in a really kind of full-on horny way, horn way, where it's kind of like you're firing information as a weapon, really, rather than speaking your truth. And all then we're getting is information war, information kind of overload, and that's engaging our emotional state, and we don't really know how to deal with it, actually. And that's, I think, what the chaos that's affecting all of us to some degree is going on.
No, it's a beautiful answer and in depth. And I know we had that very brief conversation. I don't know if you remember it, but we were at Vaughan's. And it was just the way you sat back. I think I asked you, we were talking about anger and you were saying the importance of it. But when you were talking about it, you sat back and you were really in your space with it, and you were just very calm. And you just, it made me see, because I'd never really explored it from a man's perspective. I've been in quite abusive relationships when I was younger, and I just think you're softening to it, and the open conversation was really something that stuck in my mind. So I wanted to put the question to you.
Well, I'll just add in that, sorry, just a quick one, is that men deserve to be angry. They really should feel angry. I think it's, it's been completely cut by a lot of, they've been really, what's that word, castrated a lot of the time.
Yeah. And I just want to add something quickly to that, what Chris was saying. For me, the anger is the potential rising. Whenever there is a potential that is hidden behind your emotion, deep underneath, and that potential wants to be expressed, whatever that potential is, freeing yourself up, becoming the new version of yourself, being able to express yourself, being able to communicate openly and clearly, being able to set your boundaries, being able to say no, whatever. That's the potential that comes. And with Chris was sharing that, the fact that we were not allowed to be angry, and we were always shush, don't be angry, behave. It's not healthy. So I think that part of also of our brotherhood as well, in a way, it's to create space for that as well. To be able to communicate. And I think right now, where we are on the planet globally, we should be angry sometimes, you know what I mean? And should be allowed to say, no way we're going to tolerate this, or no way we're going to buy into this. And we really want to transform our planet, and we really want to do this. What Chris was saying, when you lift up the veil and you see everything, you just need to pick and choose. What do you really want to engage with?
Yeah, so totally. There's a real thing at the moment where I'm involved in Telegram with a number of groups, some of which I'm on to be able to share this, some of which I'm on because they're largely crypto, and I'm very much into the finance and the crypto stuff. So I'm looking at them. But in between all of that, I think we can do a whole other show on that, which I'd love to do. But I'm very much into all of that, as you guys know. And in between some of the greatest crypto advice that we're getting is like some of the biggest conspiracies and some of the stuff. So even in my place of learning, where I'm trying to switch off from the world and put myself in another direction, it's everywhere we go, the information is coming at us now. There isn't really a safe space unless you switch your phone off completely, which if you're still trying to grow and do things. is slightly difficult. But I wanted to kind of finish up. We've kind of got another 10 minutes or so yet, but I wanted to tailor this slightly because I'm going to lead it onto some other content I'm going to be doing. But it's about creating a new version of yourself. It's about creating this new identity, which is what we're all kind of being called to do at the moment. It's like, who are you? Who do you really want to be? Where are you going to show up in your life? Who is this person going to be? And all of you guys have gone through a shift in identity in some case, because you've had to come away from other beliefs and other scenarios. Being in Ibiza, it kind of, we are kind of creating ourselves into a different version of ourselves, one that we feel more happy with, more grounded with. But I have, and I mentioned this to Zoran the other day, I have a very big piece of content that I'm focused on in a week or so with a young guy who is phenomenal, and he's at this point in his life, and I think many people are, a lot of musicians are kind of at home not doing anything, but him in particular, he is from Sierra Leone. His name is Mash P, and he unfortunately was sold by his mom when he was younger, and he was then also kidnapped, and he became a child soldier. And he is now out of that situation and in an extremely beautiful position where he's focused on his music. But he has so much trauma, and I'm using him as an extreme case because everyone's got trauma and it's respected to each person. But he has a large amount of trauma that he's dealt with in the past. And he's now becoming this different version of himself. And he's creating this new identity for his music and for his way of being. And it's such a challenge to be able to do that, to be able to recreate your life aside from the trauma that you've had, aside from your story, and aside from that version of you that you no longer want to be. And I think it's such an important time, because I respect you guys of where you're at and the experience that you have on this kind of new version of you and constantly creating and becoming and refining. Can each of you kind of give maybe some words of advice for, particularly for Mash P, for somebody that's trying to leave behind such a trauma, but also somebody that's trying to be a better person? I'd love to end it on that. So I think, J.O., I'd love to start with you about kind of just maybe 3 things that you feel would be, somebody who's listening might feel like, yeah, do you know what? That's what I really need to kind of look in that direction and remember while I'm going through this transition.
3 things. I mean, for me, I grew up as Mormon, as you know, in a small town in Alpine, Utah, and my life has changed so much from then. It seems like I've lived 10 lifetimes, and for me, all throughout those changes in my life, I've always had to have courage, simple courage, just to take the next step and make the next change. And I think that's been for me the most important thing. Like my move to Ibiza, it was totally crazy. Everyone thought I was nuts. It was a stupid thing to do, and it was the best decision I ever made, moving here. So I think just to have the courage to believe in yourself for whatever your heart is telling you is your next step, because we all know what it is. I think, when it presents itself. I have a lot of friends who need to take the next step in certain areas of their life, but they just can't do it because it's uncomfortable. They're going to maybe hurt someone, or it's going to put themselves at some inconvenience. So yeah, I think it's just really important to listen to your heart and to have the courage to take the next step. I mean, that's looking back, that's been how my life has gone, in the right trajectory for me. So I would just say that one thing, really, and everything else will fall into place,
Yeah, that's good. Chris, do you want to answer that one?
Yeah, I mean, I guess we're not going too into our backgrounds, but having grown up in Belfast and a lot of trauma, and knowing a lot of sort of being in very institutional kind of traumatic experiences, they are. I think one of the things that one of my great teachers always said to me is, turn your suffering into art, and your art into awareness, and your awareness into action. And that if you, to me, I think I'm really mindful of terms like becoming a new you, because there is no new you. There is only you, and there's the upgrade, or there's the expansion, or there's the hugeness of you, but there is no new one. And I think for me, it is about actually turning everything within you to alchemize it into something that could be extraordinary about you. Because whatever your friend is experiencing, fundamentally his experiences are his material, and his material for his greatness, if that's what he wants. So that would be my piece.
Beautiful. Yeah, thank you. And Zoran, last but not least.
Yeah. I mean, having grown in Serbia, which was extremely turbulent and very traumatic experience, I think I top you guys. I mean, Belfast, Utah.
We're getting levels of war torn here. I think we're getting levels of trauma. We're like really measuring out.
But this is not the real brotherhood. This is how we start. We kind of get into these discussions and debates. I just wanted to kind of be authentically modeling this for you. For me, I think that it's all about surrendering. I love what J.O. has said about courage. I think, courage, when I was listening to him, I was like, my God, I remember how J.O. is so powerful and all hard. And of course, there is a courage. And of course, Chris, with your creativity, there is no you. It's the expansion of your essence. For me, it's about having faith and surrendering into a deeper inner knowledge and this deeper intuition or gut instinct that really guides your life, that is deeply anchored and connected to your soul and who you are. And when you have enough courage and creativity to surrender, to really let go and to begin seeing that life is a consistent evolution. Life is a consistent embedding of you expanding, becoming, being, and you actually begin enjoying it instead of resisting it and struggling with it. Oh my God, now I have to do this, and now I have to change this. And now, if you just relax and surrender into it, then it flows. And in my life, whenever I manage, not all the time, whenever I manage to surrender into that, and to let go and trust that part, by what J.O. was saying, when we were moving to Ibiza, people in my network was like, what are you doing? I mean, and I was saying, my inner voice, he's saying to me, I should move there. What do you mean? So if you really trust that and surrender into that, I think the miracle happens. And then life becomes miraculous. And you witness this beauty. And also life surprises you, if you do that. It kind of goes around the corner and it really, really surprises you. Like, oh my God, look at me. This is my life. It's so surprising, even better than I could ever think or create myself. So for me, it's that surrender.
I love that. I can hear myself again. I don't know if that's anyway. J.O., is that you? I think it is. Yeah, I think it is. Maybe it is. Oh, yes, it was. So I love the sound of my own voice occasionally, or all the time, but which has been known. But just the variations of that as well, of the different answers there from the different perspectives. I really value that, and I think that's for Mash. When you're listening to this, I really think that you'll understand from these perspectives of what you need to do. And anybody else that's out there listening, it's, it is creation time. We are not here just to, to fall, and we're here to grow and to be better versions of ourselves. For me, with this show, with what I'm doing, I'm showing up every single night at 7 p.m. I have decided to go toe to toe with Boris. So as long as lockdown continues, I will be here. I have no boyfriend, no life apart from my friends here showing up. And I just think to myself, while I can, I will. And and it's helping me, just my own little bit of discipline on a daily basis. It's just helping me have something to commit to other than, the meditation that's very much on my own. And I feel like whatever we want to be, and if we're going to grow into this version of ourselves, it's about sharing it. It's about sharing that version of yourself rather than trying to do it all on your own and come out when you're perfect. You're not going to be perfect. I have background noise every other day. I have someone that's late. I have someone that is a wee halfway through. I have sometimes my microphone just goes, and I'm like, life just happens. But in between that, it's beautiful to be able to share and to connect with people like I have with you guys tonight. And I haven't spoken to most of you for some time properly, and I reached out thinking, if they're up for it, they'll join. If they don't, they won't. And I didn't want to take offense to that or anything. I just wanted to put it out there. And surprises happen all the time. And I'm really grateful that you guys have said yes. And I really appreciate it because I value your opinions and your brotherhood. And even though I'm not on the island at the moment, it's still something that I remember greatly, that I feel that has, it really does glue things together, and it's powerful.
Thank you, Nat. That's beautiful.
Miss you, Nat.
Oh my God. What a wonderful summary of our conversation. I was like, all right, Thank you.
So for anyone that is out there listening, yes, I am showing up every single night. You can get more information about this. You can go to iamsoundacademy.com. You can join me on my personal YouTube channel, which I have slightly alternative content. We're talking about ghosts and conspiracies and alternative views. There's all sorts of stuff on there. Crazy. So you can go to Nat Rich Voice on there, and then also on here, I am here every night on the radio. We also, which I will tell you about, have the new TV channel coming in less than 2 weeks. We're going to be on Roku, which is a huge TV platform. We're going to be available on Apple TV and also on Amazon Fire Stick. And as you know, I do not have social media because I don't believe in it. So you can't get me there, but you can get me on the Telegram below if you want to join the channel. And if we've got any comments, I'm just going to read them out. I think you guys have already seen who we've got there. Emily mentioned about having a sisterhood that spreads across from Mexico, Barcelona, Bali, and even further. It's so important to have. It doesn't have to just be your local street that has one. It's as international as possible, especially in Ibiza. Thank you for watching, everyone, and I really appreciate it. And guys, you stay there. But for everyone else at home, I will see you tomorrow at 7 o'clock. We've got Law of Attraction tomorrow evening. Got Law of Attraction tomorrow evening. And then we have Sound and Medicine on Sunday. And for the rest of the week, I'll tell you what's up when I see you on Sunday. Bye for now.
Bye.